Okay, so this video is for the first station of graph and equation match. Now, I'm not going to go over all of these problems because I want you to review for the exam and not rely too much on the key or my videos. I need you to challenge yourself. So at the end, so this is video 1 of, I believe, 5. The 5th video is going to be a quick just overview of the key, but the expectation is that I'm not going to be going over each problem, okay? So you have to rely on your classmates and your notes to help you understand what you're doing. Okay, letter A. So this might look overwhelming, but let me break it down for you in a way that it's a little more manageable, okay? So for each graph, if you notice, it's either even or odd. So if it starts in one direction and ends in the other, that's the definition of an odd function, okay? So for example, this comes from the negative direction and ends up in the positive direction. So this is the definition of an odd polynomial. Now, where does it end up? It ends up in the positive region. So that tells me my leading coefficient is positive. So all this information is based off the previous lesson. So if this is all new to you, it shouldn't be, honestly. And I would encourage you to go back to your notes because we took a lot of notes about the end behavior and whether it ends positively, negatively, how all of that works. Okay? Letter B. Sorry, let me backtrack. Try to identify as much as you can from your graph. So you want to do that for each single graph. Okay? So at -4, I have a root at -4. And it bounces. Okay, then I have a root at -1 and it crosses. Okay, so that is all the information that I need. Now, I could also add that it has a multiplicity of 1, because a multiplicity of 1 means a cross, and a multiplicity of 2 means a bounce. If all this sounds new to you, I would encourage you to look at the previous notes because we took extensive notes on this behavior, okay? And that's what you're going to be assessed on Wednesday. So I want you to do that for all of the graphs. Identify whether it's odd or even, identify whether the leading coefficient is positive or negative, and identify your roots, identify what's going on, bounce, cross, wiggle, and a multiplicity, the multiplicity for that. So I'm going to do another one. I'll do let's say letter F, because F is different. F is an even function. How do I know it's even? It's even because it starts from below and ends below. And if it ends below, that means my leading coefficient is negative. Now let's identify our roots. Our roots are at -4 and our roots are at -1. And there's a bounce at both roots. Okay? And that tells me that it's at least a multiplicity of 2. It could be a 4, but at least an even number. Okay. So I want you to do that for all of them, all of these. Okay? Because once you get to this is where you start identifying, okay, what kind of degree am I in? Well, this is x to the power of 2 times x to the power of 3, which is equal to x to the 5th. So this tells me it's an odd function because it's to the power of 5. It's an odd function with a leading coefficient of a negative. Okay, so obviously I would not choose letter F. That wouldn't make sense because it's even. Now, This matches, right? It's an odd function. Odd function. Oh, actually, it doesn't match. Leading coefficient is negative here, but this is positive, so this doesn't match. Okay? So I'm going to give you a hint. It's letter E. Why is it letter E? Well, let's identify letter E. What's happening in letter E? Well, it starts in the positive, ends in the negative. Two different directions. That's odd. My leading coefficient is negative because it ends in the negative. Okay? That's what's happening in my roots. I have a positive 1 as a root, and I have a positive 4 as a root. There's a wiggle at 4, so that means that has a multiplicity of at least 3. There's a bounce at 1. That means there's a multiplicity of 2. A bounce and a wiggle. Like I said, if this is all new to you or you were absent on a day, I would encourage you to go back to those notes, fill in those notes. There was a video for these notes. So yeah, so does that match with what's going on over here? It does, because it's an odd function. Leading coefficient is negative. My root is a positive 1 here. My root is a positive 1, which has a multiplicity of 2. So a multiplicity, so a root of 1, it bounces because it has a multiplicity of 2. This has a root of 4 with a multiplicity of 3. That tells me it's going to be a wiggle. My root's 4, we have a wiggle. So it matches. Okay, so that's what you have to do. And like I said, video 5 will show you the answer key on how to fill it in. So on the formative, I would type in letter E, and any blank in the formative, if there's a graph or if there's an equation that doesn't match a graph, because there's going to be a few, you put NA. All right. Now I don't know. There could be a match there, but that's what you need to find. All right. Good luck.